Absolutely. So I'm Ryan Judson, the North American brand ambassador for a very small brand of Scotch whiskey called Usquebaugh. It's a brand that's been around for 200 years, but I don't blame people when they say they don't know about it. We are a small production blend. We like it that way. We like to be that word-of-mouth, grassroots type of whiskey brand. And that's why shows like the Nashville Whiskey Festival is so important for us. We really rely on people tasting the whiskey in an intimate setting like this and bringing that knowledge back home with them. I like to spread the gospel, I guess, of artisanal blending. Sometimes a brand like Usquebaugh can really change your mindset about what you think when you hear the word blended Scotch whiskey.
Well, I'm Tim Smith, Climax Moonshine, and you can see I have 3 brands. I got 3 labels here. And we started off with this 3 years ago. This is my original father's recipe. Been doing this over 40 years right here. After 1 year in business, I came out one for the firefighters. Big red chewing gum flavor is what it is. 80 proof. Now this right here, this is the hottest thing this year. This is my whiskey. No one's ever made a whiskey like this before. I took the original moonshine that was here, 90 proof. Bam, there you go. Never been in a barrel. A lot of people come in and say, hey, is that like 6-year-old, 8-year-old, 10, 12-year-old? I'm like, no, made this one day. Bam, just one day. It so happened to be here. And this is going to be front and center. Discovery Channel Moonshiners, November.
What do I got? So I have a number of fortified wines here that are great in whiskey cocktails, sure, but at this table tonight, I'm making spritzes. So when I'm making a spritz, I kind of go the opposite way that most people do. A lot of people will put the alcohol in there first and then top it with the soda, but what I find the problem with that being is that your alcohol ends up sitting at the bottom and your soda stands on the top. So I let the carbonation of the soda do the work for me. I'm a lazy bartender, and that way I don't have to stir the cocktail. Pouring the Capoletti. This is a brother and sister team coming out of Alto Adige. And then everything is better with a twist. And there you have it, a spritz.
It is helpful when you think of aromas to remember that they are not discrete things. They are not points on a map. Think of a rainbow. We have a place where it's red. You know what red is, and you know what orange is. Where is the point where where red turns to orange? Everybody's going to have their own definition of that. Where is the point where maple syrup turns to butterscotch? All of those things are together. So part of what we try to do is we try to give people a unified vocabulary so that when I say caramel, you know exactly what I'm talking about. One of the things we get is we'll put aromas in front of people and they will say, this reminds me of my grandmother's cookies. And those are very emotional, very evocative memories. That's a very powerful association. It does me absolutely no good because I don't know what your grandma's cookies smelled like. So what you want to do is you want to pull those apart. Get the butter, get the cooked sugar, get the almonds, get the separate components out, okay? So let's smell something else that hopefully will confuse you just as much.
Everybody assumes that my grandfather gave me my first taste of whiskey, right? Not true. It was actually my grandmother gave me my first taste. It's a true story. When I was young, I had a toothache, my gum was hurting, and my grandmother dipped her finger in a bottle of Jack Daniels and rubbed it on my gum to get the pain to go away. So I tell everybody I really owe it all to my grandma, right? She got me started with Jack Daniels officially. But I went away to school and studied chemistry. Believe it or not, I'm a trained chemist. But Lynchburg population is 600. We've got 600 people and over 2 million barrels in Lynchburg right now. So when you're 18, 20, 21 years old, you think you're going to move away, move to a bigger town, and I was the same way. But I was studying chemistry, and I came home one summer, and I needed a summer job, and my roommate from school wanted to go and see Jack Daniels and learn about how to make whiskey, so I said, sure, we'll go take the tour. And we were walking around, and I thought, I needed that summer job, and tour guides just get paid to talk. Seems pretty good. It's certainly better than mowing grass all summer, right? So my first job was actually as a tour guide. I did that for a couple of years, and then I got really lucky because when I finished school, Brown-Forman, the parent company of Jack Daniels, was hiring for a chemist in research and development. And so I moved up to Louisville, Kentucky, started full-time, and in R&D you got to touch all the different brands. Obviously Jack Daniels is our #1 brand. Also our bourbons in Kentucky, our tequilas, Canadian whiskeys, projects at the cooperage, making our own barrels. I got to experience all these different parts of making great spirits. And I did that for 9 years, and then I did leave, and I went to another company for a little while, got recruited away. I'm not going to mention any names, at least not until maybe after the tasting. But no names right now. And I did that for about 3 years, and I had a great experience making bourbon up in Kentucky for another company. But then I got a call from Jeff Arnett, and Jeff is our current master distiller at Jack Daniels, and he said, Chris, our production continues to increase. They're wanting me to travel and talk about the brand, and I just don't have time to do all of it, and he wanted to hire an assistant. Sounded pretty good to me. Even convinced my wife to move to Lynchburg with me. I don't know how I did that. But I started, my first day in this role was January 2nd, 2014, exactly 57 years to the day from when my grandfather started January 2nd, 1957. So it's a pretty special thing for me to be back home in Lynchburg, back at the distillery that I literally grew up in. I've even got my grandfather's old desk there in my office that I sit at every day. So it is a really fun thing to be back at Jack Daniels. It's going to be a fun time tonight because we're going to taste some of the best whiskeys in the world. These whiskeys go toe-to-toe with anything out in the room, and there's a lot of great whiskeys out there. But we've been making whiskey for 150 years the same way. There's a reason that we've become the #1 premium whiskey in the world. Jack Daniels Old No. 7 is the #1 selling premium whiskey in the world. It didn't used to always be that way. When my grandfather started in 1957, it was barely sold out of the southeastern United States. You go into a bar in Chicago or New York and order a Jack Daniels, they say, I've never heard of it. That wasn't that long ago, really. You think about that, we've come a long way, and the reason we've come that far is by putting great whiskey in the bottle. So if there's one thing I want you to remember from everything we talk about tonight, we make whiskey with the same process, the same methods, the same tradition that my grandfather did in 1957. Okay, I guarantee you. Now we make more whiskey than he made in 1957. And we have a little better technology today than he did. Sure, absolutely we do. All designed to assure the quality and the consistency of Jack Daniels Old No. 7 never changes.
So this is Caribbean rum made in Trinidad. It's been aged in American whiskey barrels for about 2 years. It has a natural infusion process where we take coffee from Colombia, fenugreek, Madagascar vanilla, and do a natural smoke process on top of that as well. I love it as a shot in a beer. Works great as a daiquiri, classic rum drink, or like a Manhattan or old-fashioned kind of thing. So super diverse product, really, really cool.
What would you say was your favorite bourbon, gentlemen?
The Pappy Van Winkle.